Happy Tuesday! Ready for some homework review and doing some calculus today, I hope. Well, here we are, another virtual day, and let's go over some of the problems that people missed on their homework. Um, Guess what? Nobody asked me any questions. So, should I just shut this video off and pretend like everything's okay? Well, some teachers might, but fortunately for you guys, you have me. Okay, so we're going to go over these problems, and you guys need to make sure that on your next test, you show your work how I am showing you to show your work, and you don't just like Google the answers and put them in or something like that, because I am going to expect you guys to send me work for your next test. All right, you need to know how to do the derivative using the limiting function, okay, that you see here for these problems. All right, so I think this was problem number 2. They give you a position function, s of t, time is t, instantaneous velocity is what you're finding. Find the instantaneous velocity. Well, guess what? That's a fancy way of saying find the derivative, okay? I guess it's not really a fancy way, but you're figuring out what is the velocity at a specific split-second instant. All right, so you're finding the derivative to do that, okay? So you're going to be using this general derivative formula, the one that I said, use this one, not all the other ones that kind of build up to this one. All right, so the first thing you want to recognize here is that x is t, and they give you it, okay? So let's just, we'll write it out with as s and substitute the -3 in for t, okay? So s prime of -3 is what we are looking for, all right? So, and then h, you always want to use h because, well, that is the way that the formula has it. You could use another variable, as h maybe for hours approaches 0. Anyhow, so we're trying to figure out an instantaneous velocity here. X plus h is the function that you are substituting. You're substituting x plus h into the function in place of, so like in this case, x is t, okay? So you're replacing this t here with x plus h, or in this case, t plus h. All right, so just to be clear here, I'm going to use s and s of -3 in place of this f stuff here, f prime of x, okay, and f of x plus h. So like our function instead would be s of -3 plus h, okay, minus s of -3, and you still have h on the bottom. Okay, so it's basically the same thing as this, only I put an s in place of the f and a -3 in place of the x, okay, which was t in this case here. All right, so here we go. We're going to do a little bit of substituting -3 plus h in place of, we're taking this and we're putting it in place of this t variable there. All right, so it gets a little bit tedious, but you don't want to forget about that. You have the limit as h approaches 0. You have to keep on writing this like the whole way down. It gets kind of annoying, but that's the way it is. It's a little bit annoying, and sometimes it takes some diligence to get a problem right. All right, so we got -3 plus h. All right, and this is all squared. If I can try to write it out there as best as I can. All right, and then you add 3 to it according to the function. So we're adding 3 to it. All right. And then we are going to subtract s of -3, okay? So we are subtracting, and then I'm going to group all this in parentheses. So we would have -3 times a, okay, and then substitute -3 in place of t. And just remember, when you substitute a negative, make sure you put it in parentheses, so it's -3 squared. and then make sure you follow the order of operations. So you'll be squaring this first, and the quantity -3 squared is equal to +9, so just be careful there. All right, so you're going to add 3 to that, and this is all over h. Okay, and then we got another step here. We're going to write down the limit yet again. Boom. And it gets progressively sloppier. All right, let me switch colors here just in case we get a little blurry together. So we have -3a, and then we're going to square this quantity here, okay? So square the first term. -3 squared is 9. Remember, you got to go back to the video if you don't remember this. The original video, you square the first term, multiply these two and double it, so it would be -3 times h, then you double that, so that's -6h. All right, so I'm using the shortcut for FOILing a binomial times itself, okay? H times h is h squared, so you're squaring the last term. All right, so go back to the editor, look at the shortcut. You know, there was the shortcut where I showed you how to do like a plus b, or really a minus b squared, okay? All right, so look at that shortcut if you don't quite get that there. All right, so +3, and then we have to like simplify all this out here. So we're subtracting. Let's just do it in 2 steps here. So -3a. This is -3 squared. I said that was 9 already. +3. Okay, so it is pretty tedious, okay, but you know, sometimes good math is tedious. All right, so we keep going here. Limit of h approaches 0. Okay, so what we got to do here is, well, we could distribute the -3a in. All right, we could do that. Sure, why not? Let's do that. Okay, if you don't know what else to do, distribute. That's usually a good rule of thumb. So -27a plus 18ah. Okay, and -3 times h squared would be -3ah squared. All right, and then we got plus another 3 there. And then we distribute this minus sign. Okay, well, that would actually become positive -27a, but it becomes positive 27a. And then we have -3, okay? Some of this has to cancel, okay? And if it doesn't cancel, then you obviously messed something up, okay? -27a and positive 27a cancel, 3 and -3 cancel, so you're just left with these two terms. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to factor out the h, as you almost always do in these problems, because if you factor out the h, it will cancel out, which is nice. All right, so we have 18a minus 3ah. All right, it's all over h. Guess what? These h's cross off now, and we can substitute. It's really not substituting. You're evaluating a limit, okay? You're not really substituting, but you can think of it as substituting. So if we have 18a, okay, and then minus 3ah, as h goes to infinity, this just goes to 0, okay? So, boom, this whole part is 3a times 0, so your answer is 18a. And look, there it is, 18a. And look how beautiful all that was. All right, and that only took 8 minutes. So, let's move on to a different problem here. Okay, so in this problem, all right, this one is, do you know what a tangent line is, okay? Estimate the derivative. The derivative is the same thing as tangent line at a point. So you want to figure out what the tangent line is. Here's the function, its graph for you, at x equals 1. So you see on the graph x equals 1, which is right here, okay? Now let me draw a tangent line. Remember, a tangent line should touch a graph in exactly 1 point. Okay, it's just like, boom, touches that line at that point right there. Isn't that a pretty thing? All right, so our tangent line would be right there going, so the slope of the tangent line is the same thing as the derivative, okay? So what is the slope of this line? Okay, well, if you don't remember how to find a slope of a line, so, we can estimate we can estimate f prime of x by finding the slope of this tangent line. Okay, and now this line is actually precise, so this is actually precisely the slope at this point. So, but I mean, if your line is not exactly the tangent line, it would be only an estimate. But what is the slope of this line? Well, slope is rise over run, okay? Or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it's going down 1. Oops, that doesn't look like down 1. It's going down 1, so that would be negative 1 over right 1, which is positive 1. So your slope is negative 1. Okay, so that is the derivative, okay, at that particular point. You figured it out by estimating the slope of the tangent line. All right, let's go on to another one that somebody else missed and didn't bother asking anything about it. So I'm going to be nice and do it for you here. So let's go ahead and maybe I'll do this in the second part of the video. Okay, so make sure you watch part 2 coming up.